Hey Master Gardeners, I'm outside today planting another container tree. You should have already seen the burlap and a bare root one. This is going to be a container one today. So today I've got a persimmon. This is not a native persimmon, which is Diospyros virginiana. This is actually an Asian cultivar, which will be less astringent when it bears its persimmon fruit. So I'm excited about a new fruit tree in my yard. So I'm going to go on do a little description of how to purchase a tree at the nursery, how to look for a proper graft union, how to plant it in the ground, and if we get time, we're going to touch on how to collect your own seed if you wanted to start it on your own. So first thing, this is my cultivar. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it says Jiro is what it looks like, but certainly with a Japanese twist, it probably sounds totally different. So anyway, that's the cultivar. It's known as one of the hardiest persimmons that we have. So it's listed at this one is listed zone 7 to 10. So it's going to be easily hardy here in my zone 7. So I'm going to be happy with that. And it's grafted to our native one, which is Diospyros virginiana, our native persimmon. So I already know that this plant doesn't mind my heavy clay soil. So I'm already thinking I'm not going to amend my soil a whole lot because I know it's compatible with our clay. But look at my graft union on here. When I purchased the tree, I always study. Hopefully you got enough light on it, maybe not. The graft union is nice and clean here. When I purchased this, it was covered by this casing and I couldn't see it. And fortunately, before I bought, I switched trees because I wanted a nice, dry, clean wound. And the other ones were kind of knobby. Sometimes there's an incompatibility when two different trees are hooked together. The tree on the bottom is our native one. It's moved on to that. They planted it on that because that's cold hardy. That's why it's two different trees. The top part is Asian, the bottom part is the American species. So I like my graft union. Plus, when I bought my tree, I wanted to select one that's relatively straight. I like the branch pattern on the top. And the other thing is, I peeled this away in the nursery to make sure there were no wounds, because some of the trees had scuff marks on the side of them. And so I would not choose those because I sure don't want to buy something that already has a wound on the side of it. So inspect your tree closely when you buy it. Make sure it's sturdy in the pot. The other thing I liked here is I did find some of my main roots coming off, so I knew it wasn't in the ground too deep. See I got a little root coming off there. I'm happy with that. So that's another thing we're choosing for. And I want a straight trunk. I don't want branches really low. I want them high so that when we mow under them, we don't get whacked in the head. So those are some things I'm looking for. I love buying a deciduous tree when there's no leaves on it. It's easier for the plant to adapt to my yard when it hasn't made its leaves yet. So typically buying a deciduous tree in early spring or late fall is practical. Not always the best thing for somebody who doesn't know trees because you want to look at the leaf. So anyway, so here's my deciduous tree. I pre-dug my hole. You want your hole 2 times the width of what your hole is going to be. I measured it already. If you look here, it's kind of shallow because I'm already know I'm going to peel a little bit of this off. So I'm going to peel it off. Woo! A lot of stuff falling out of here. I want to keep all this nice organic matter, and I want you to look at some of these little green balls that just came out of it. So can you see those little green? There's a couple little green balls there. Those are fertilizer pellets. So when you empty out your pot, you want to make sure all that falls into your hole because that's important fertilizer that you don't want to go to waste. I'm going to measure the depth of my hole. Actually, it's pretty nice where it's sitting. I don't think it's too deep. This is not, it doesn't have a lot of roots. Hey, look here. Look what color the roots are. Isn't that interesting? That's one of the characteristics of a persimmon tree is it has black roots. Wow, it sure does. First time I've ever planted one. Never knew that before. So I'm going to work this organic matter in. And in my containers, I've already added soil conditioner. So I'm going to sprinkle this around. I want to make sure my tree's pretty straight. I almost wish I had a helper to stand back and look to make sure I'm getting it in pretty straight. I already put my soil in these containers. You'll find it so much easier for filling in your plant. If you're working on an uphill slope, you always remember to put your soil on the uphill side because it's so much easier to fill. I didn't tease my roots too much because this is a real loose soil mix. Look how much it falls off. I'm worried about teasing it too much, so I didn't do much. I didn't play around with that root system too much. But like I said, I added about 1/3 of a bag of soil conditioner. I'm going to put my soil in. If you're planting during a summer season, it is really important that you do your watering right now while there's a nice hole in the ground. So I tend to put a whole jug in there. And I know it's going to drain really well pretty quick here because that's pretty loose soil. Let me put my other container in, excuse me. Dump this one in. Remember, I want my roots right here. See, I got my roots. There might be a little shallow, but I'd rather have my plant too shallow than too deep. I'm firm in my soil. I'm not going to stake my tree because I don't mind if it blows in the wind. The more that it blows in the wind, the more it's going to initiate new roots. See how I put my little plastic bag over here to keep my soil off my grass? Makes it a lot easier for putting it on. So when I finish here, I'm going to make a little donut hole in the middle. Little donut hole. I'm very happy with my tree. Woo. Very happy with how that went in. I'm going to water it about once every 10 days or 2 weeks during the summer to make sure I keep it evenly moist. If I feel like my tree is not straight or it's blowing or I don't like the way it's growing, I might have to stake it later, but I'm happy with that. You need to be careful if there's electric lines overhead. You don't want to plant underneath of those. This is only going to be about a 15-foot tree, so I'm not worried about it reaching my electric lines up there. So then I cut this plastic and I lay it around it because I don't want any grass underneath. There's been a lot of research done in orchards to keep your grass out from underneath of your fruit trees because there's too much competition for water. So I will put this plastic underneath so that I don't get weeds. So let me show you another fun thing. I got some seeds in my pocket. So let me show you, this is a persimmon seed. So those are persimmon seeds. The raccoons love them too, so oftentimes you're hiking down a trail, you can find persimmon seeds in the remnants of some wild animals. But you can stratify these. They have to have a cold treatment in order for the seed to germinate. And I just take a baggie of potting mix, which I have around here somewhere, and I stratify them. So this is moist potting mix. I'm going to take my seed and notch the seed coat to wake it up. So I put a little nick in it, little cut, another little cut, a little cut in each one of them. That's to help them absorb water when they get in the soil. And then I drop them into a baggie. I put them in my refrigerator, and that's going to simulate my cold winter. And when it's been in the refrigerator for maybe 2 or 3 months, I'll pull it out and start checking and see if they've rooted. So it's an easy one to germinate. You really got to try rooting your own persimmon. So just to talk about my Asian persimmon, it's going to be a larger fruit. It's a non-astringent variety, so it's going to have kind of a thick, leathery, and my fruit's probably going to be 3 inches in size. They say the astringent ones tend to be better for drying. This is non-astringent, so I intend to eat it. You would use it in your recipes much like you would use banana, and use it in breads and pies and puddings. So that's what I'm intending to do, and also to eat them as a fresh fruit. So that's a fun persimmon tree. There's my new plant I'll share with you when I get fruit in 3 years. See you then.